Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to FPL Don't Panic. Finally hit a 70. Way. That was a hairy game week. Jesus. Where to begin? Oh, hello. Another one of my doggies is coming to say hello. Say hello. Yeah, that was a hairy game week. Swings that I spoke about in various updates, and all of them happened. Just scribbled down one or two. I think it was going into yesterday's doubleheader, and as I said in the last video, it brought me no joy as I watched Man United get pummeled, but watched my points rise at the same time. Mixed emotions, folks, mixed emotions. I was like this, ooh. Yeah, it was, yeah. FPL head on, you play the game, and what's in front of you. Happily on that front at least. Haaland came in the last 45. In the last 45, it was, where was it? Yesterday, the Liverpool match was actually going reasonably well. Ekitike and Gakpo hadn't returned, but Salah was blanking, and I had my Van Dijk clean sheet, and I was actually sitting on a plus 132,000 green arrow. I thought, oh, that's going to be not too bad going on. That's my partner, girlfriend, she was sitting beside me, and I said, yeah, Salah's going to get a penalty. Something always happens. Something. There it is. Same old fucking story. I swear to God. And I dropped from 132,000 plus to minus 854,000. And frankly, I thought that was that. I thought, okay, yeah, two players to go. And I was sitting at that point at around 4.5 million, something like that. Yeah, about 4.5 million. And then I had the misery and joy of the Haaland show. Nothing from Rodri, unfortunately. That one clean sheet point. But yeah, just Haaland, just that double. Finally, a captaincy return. It was inevitable, and I will take it. So yeah, let's quickly review the game week. Before we do that, though, let's do the T-shirt winner. So as I was setting out this team, sort of heading down the Defcon path, the irony, of course, being that only one of my players achieved Defcon, and he was one that was sitting on the bench until I changed him literally at the last second and put Sinisi on the bench and brought Tarkowski back in. The other thing I didn't actually talk about, that a little bit the day before, I had actually transferred out Sinisi and brought in Anderson. It was all over the place that last day or so, the right thing to do in regards to Defcon. I brought in Anderson. I'd taken out Sinisi, and I was going to go with the back five just for a brief moment. I thought, oh, it's too scary to do that just yet. So ultimately, I just brought Tarkowski back, and I'm glad I did, because I think in the longer term, I think Tarkowski will be the better asset, even though he finished 2 points less than Sinisi. But there would have been another plus 7 there, I think, if I had kept Sinisi out, gone the back five, and played Anderson. Again, I still think Sinisi longer term is a better asset, so no major regrets there. Little bit of regrets. The points would have been lovely. Probably would have put me in the from 3.5 million to 1 million. Anyways, I digress. T-shirt winner early in the week, as I was sort of going down this Defcon path. Set a competition. How many points do you think my 5 defenders, whether I play those 5 defenders or not, how many points they will achieve as a unit? They came in with 31. It's 31. And we have a winner, a clear winner, who said 32. Heather, congratulations, you are the winner. If you can see that, of an FPL Don't Panic t-shirt. And happy days, folks. Happy days. I always whinge about the cost of posting and stuff. I've got to post it somewhere around the world. By a lucky coincidence, I am currently in the County Clare, Heather. I'm actually looking after a place in Kinvara until Friday, so I don't know if you're back. I don't actually know how close you are to Kinvara, but certainly postage-wise, it'll be a lot easier than sending it to South Africa or fucking, I don't know, America or wherever the hell. No, you've got my email. Pop me an email, and we'll get that sorted for you. And congratulations, well done. And you had faith. You had faith in my defence. Yay! Unlike some of you, no names mentioned. Anyway, happy days. Team as a whole, I'm going to run through it quickly. We'll talk about. We're moving into. So the thing now is, with my chips blown, took my swings. Glad I did the wild card though, because that did correct things. And I'm looking at some of the other content providers who have been holding off on playing their bloody wild card, and they are sitting in the 4 millions, the 5 million. FPL Harry, who I rate incredibly highly, and I guarantee you he will still finish in the top 5k this season. You heard that here first, folks. He is phenomenal. But he's sitting around 5 million. Poor old FPL Raptor is sitting around 8 million, and they've been holding off playing wildcards and correcting things as this pattern is evolving, where the points actually are coming from the defenders, and they're holding off. And now they're all now talking about what I was talking about when I did my corrective surgery last week. A change in tactics, a change in formation. So at least I have got myself up to 1.5 million now, as you can see by the nice S bend on the screen there, just below me. Moving in the right direction. Hopefully we can continue that trend and steady this ship. So it really is now moving into my overall methodology, which I quite enjoy. It takes a certain amount of responsibility from me and making stupid mistakes. I've made a few. Some of those didn't feel like bad decisions. Wish I'd followed my gut at the beginning of the season and gone sort of more big at the back, so to speak. But I think I did to a degree. I just made the wrong choices, and I just didn't correct them soon enough. Tarkowski is obviously the choice that is 100% correct, but I had Forest Defender in there, and then I did try, I think, pass my memory back. Anyway, past the past. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? Captain Hindsight, as always, will win FPL. But it is moving into spreadsheet territory now. So you've got it there. I've got it updated for the uninitiated. When I move into this mode, I have certain rules that I try to follow. I try to achieve an average of 4, as you see on the spreadsheet there. Petrovic is currently, he's actually just under it there, but I'm just rounding the figures. Petrovic is on an average of 4. I think I might be regretting slightly the Petrovic choice and bringing him in on the wild card. But the fixture's not too bad in front of him, so we'll just see how that one rolls out at the moment. I'm kind of regretting that I didn't go for a rare. I am quite tempted by Donnarumma. See how this one plays out. For the moment, though, not going to mess around with keeper transfers. An average of 4. I like to get 5 average out of my defenders, 6 out of my midfielders, and 7 out of my strikers. That may change. I may change that model a little bit, given that defenders at the moment are where the points are coming from, particularly with the old Defcon. We'll review that on an ongoing basis. And excuse me, I've still got a bit of a cold going on, so maybe the odd sniffle here and there, and the coffee machine goes off just nice and timely. Thank you. So, Petrovic 4. Burns average 5. Burns on an average of 6. Lovely. Across 7. Van Dijk just on the 5, but as I said in the last video, I knew when I brought him in on the wildcard, he was quite a bit below that average. But I can see the fixtures enabling him to get towards that average and having some decent hauls and a bit of goal threat as well there eventually. And that's one thing I haven't really had, as I say, is too many of those a Defcon clean sheet and a goal, which really pumps you towards that 13, 14, 15 pointer. Really could do with seeing 1 or 2 of those, particularly next game week. We'll talk about that shortly. Tarkowski hitting very nicely now on an average of 6, coming in with that 8. Gapco, average of 6, fine. Blanked obviously. Semenyo 13, absolutely lovely. Average of 9, fantastic. Rodri, I'm not going to panic on Rodri just yet. He's just finding his feet again. He was ticking towards Defcon, but again faded again. I still believe that he will. In everyone's team, you're going to need a Caicedo or a Rodri or an Anderson. You know, Rodri is my pick. That he will regularly achieve Defcon. It'll pick up the odd clean sheet point, and he will come in with an attacking return. If he can get even close to what he was doing before his injury, he is going to be an absolute monster. We'll see. I could be proven wrong on that. But for now, Rodri stays, and the fixtures I think are there for him to start getting the odd goal and tick up those Defcon points, and hopefully an attacking return 1 in 3, 1 in 4. That would be lovely. Etikite averaging 6.5 at the moment. Again, the blank yesterday. And Haaland, of course, with an absolutely whopping 13. So I actually, as I say, I achieved 79. The points you see there are without captaincy. I had actually predicted. What did I predict? I've forgotten. Game week 3. I predicted out of that lineup, I think it was about 62 without captaincy, and that's all around having a clean game week. So I generally say if I stick as I'm predicting there for game week 4 on this lineup, which may change, 63, it's kind of based around a clean game week, and which I have not had. This is the first one I've had. No bookings, no sending offs, no stupid penalties conceded, no freaking penalties missed. So on a clean game week, if I go with this lineup for game week 4, we're going to talk more about that in a second. I'd say that's going to come in around the 63 points. And fingers crossed, it's a nice clean game week and we hit another 70. Now, has to be common sense applied to this as well. I don't think there's 63 points in that team as it stands. It's a tricky fixture week. I've got players playing each other. There's difficult fixtures in there. Obviously Everton away to Liverpool. Is there really a clean sheet there? Wouldn't surprise me. The Liverpool attack wasn't fantastic. I thought Burnley were brilliant yesterday, quite frankly. And they absolutely smothered that Liverpool attack. And I thought they are actually going to get the 0-0 out of it. But of course, the player sent off. And what that defender was doing, I played centre back and left back plenty of times. And turn me back on the, jump and turn me back plenty of times. But you don't put your arms out like that. You do. Really schoolboy defending. So other rules on the spreadsheet to note as well. This is where we move into spreadsheet territory for me. Fine, those are the averages I want to achieve, but it is also around their actual returns. And ideally, I want to see 3 returns in 5. So at the moment, Petrovic is not achieving that. I do have a little bit more leniency with goalkeepers, to be honest. Burn is absolutely achieving that. He's got 3 returns in 4 at the moment. Lacroix, fine. Van Dijk, fine. Tarkowski, technically, I suppose 2 and 4, but he did have that the Defcon in game week 1, so that's a 4-pointer. I think anything on 4-point, I think you can count for anything 4 points or over. I think you can count it that a player did get a return. So absolutely fine. Gapco is down to 2 in 4 now, 2 returns in 4, and he was he's going to be obviously at risk anyways. He will be almost certainly one of the players that goes, if not this week, and probably not this week, but next week, and he may find himself on the bench this week when I talk about the game week 4 team. Semenyo clearly cracking away lovely. Rodri, depends how much patience I show there, but obviously has only really played 1 and a bit games. Sorry, no, he's played 2 games. He's actually played 2 games. I'm just putting 3 there as a baseline because we don't really know what his averages are yet. He's only played 2, so those first 2 game weeks I've just put in a baseline for him. So he's got a couple of more games up his sleeve to start to prove his worth. Mateta brought him in. It was a sensible move, but yes, I do regret it because I think I would have preferred now to have gone, I don't know, with an Evan Nielsen or something and kept the money. In fact, Evan Nielsen would have actually been a good buy instead, wouldn't he? Actually, then I had the money in the bank and had an extra bit of money in the bank, so I'd have been up to 3.5, over 4.5 million to do the things I want to do over the coming weeks. Etikite is down to 2 in 4. He will almost certainly be going as well, mainly because of the Isaac minutes threat. Fine for this week. And obviously Haaland is ticking away beautifully with 3 returns in 4 games, has returned in 3 out of 4 games, and ticking away beautifully, going nowhere. So overall, I have to say, it's actually not too bad. It's actually a good baseline now to work from. To most are hitting the averages. Clearly, the defenders are. Midfielders are pretty much there, apart from Rodri, and strikers, Mateta, Etikite. Yeah, Mateta clearly not there. But of course, I've got on the bench there Sinisi, who's well up in his averages and has got an 8.3 average going on. And this is where now the question does become, is it time to go full Defcon 1? As I say, those are awkward fixtures. Let's just bring up. Let's see there, where I might actually go. Oh, that worked really well. Whoa. This is where I think I might go. For this next game week. Now, is it going to work? Is that going to get me somewhere close to the 70 points? It is quite scary going with something like this. I have actually had a look at some other teams this week in that sort of top 50 in the world, and I might do a top 50 review, which I sometimes do. It's quite interesting to see what these teams are doing, but there is a lot, definitely going with the back 4s and 5s now. And interesting, it wasn't actually a massive DEFCON week. It was just a week where defences came out on top by and large. What was it, about 9? 10? It was 10 clean sheets in all the matches. That's a lot. That's a huge amount. Is that likely to happen again? Probably not. But looking at this team as a unit, just sort of run through it. Do I feel it's going to get me close? In just a very, very awkward game week. Very, very awkward game week. Some people are talking about doing a wild card this week. I think if you haven't already done it, I would suggest holding off one more week. Very, very hard to set this up, with the City playing Arsenal. There's a whole bunch of awkward stuff in there. Looking at this team though, Petrovic in goal, Newcastle home. Newcastle haven't been pulling up any trees on the attacking front too much. Apart maybe that Liverpool game where I thought they were absolutely fantastic. But away from home, I think there's a chance there for a Petrovic clean sheet. I guess an argument could be made for playing Dubravka at home to Nottingham Forest. Actually, a very good argument could be made for that, couldn't it? What do you think? That would be an interesting one in the comments. I thought Burnley defended superbly against Liverpool, but were they likely to come out and leave more spaces against Forest? Postecoglou starting to Marcus Stamp, maybe Forest will start to score a few goals. A lot of questions there. I'd say it's Petrovic now. I think there's a reasonable chance that he'll certainly should hopefully get a baseline 2, one would hope. Look what West Ham way. Okay, so I think for a fixture like that, we're looking at almost looking at the 4-point baseline. He is a Defcon. I think I'm more likely to see some more Defcon points this week. It was very, very green fixtures last week, home fixtures, etc. So got the clean sheets, but very little Defcon apart from Tarkowski. I think West Ham away, I think it is that sort of fixture where we are looking at almost like a 3, certainly maybe a 4-point baseline even for Lacroix. Virgil, Everton home, Merseyside derby. Hard to say which way that would go, but certainly I think the 4-point baseline is there again. Burn, Bournemouth away. Again, that sort of fixture, I think the 4-point baseline is there. Similarly for Sinisi and certainly similarly for Towski. So I think most of those defenders, I do believe, will get Defcon and should hopefully achieve an absolute minimum of 3. That should be the 4. Hopefully, I don't see that too many of them conceding more than 2 goals. So then it becomes a question. So we've got the average of 4 then. So then it becomes the question: do any of them look likely to get a clean sheet? So you certainly fancy Liverpool for the clean sheet. To a degree, Bournemouth lesser so. Newcastle, maybe they've been defending well, but certainly. So I could, in a nutshell, I do think we should be looking at about 25 points out of that defence. And so far that defence as a unit has done 20, 25, 26, 40, 32. That's not bad. That really isn't bad. So if we could achieve the 25 plus again, and maybe hit one of those 40s, where a Virgil or where a Sinisi or someone comes in with the big score, the clean sheet, the Defcon, and the goal, I might run another competition. In fact, you know what? I'll put it here and there. I'm down to 2 t-shirts, and you may have to settle for a medium. I'll be getting some more done. You know what? We will run it again. This is more of a Defcon week. What points, if I do, and I actually do think I am going to go with this. I do think I am going to go with this week, because it's just that sort of an awkward fixture game week, and the whole idea of putting this Defcon monster defensive unit together was that in any given game week you could play the 5 and hope to get a decent outcome from it. How many points do you think it's going to get this week? It's Defcon 2 competition. How many points will Lacroix, Virgil, Burns, Nisi, and Tarkowski score? That is the question. Right, moving into midfield. So I'm thinking there's 25 points there. Gapco and Semenyo. Gapco's due an attacking return. Of course, it will take away my Tarkowski clean sheet. That is the sadness of the situation I find myself in. Didn't think that Liverpool attack looked great. Different kettle of fish at Anfield. Different kettle of fish at Anfield, though, isn't it? Yeah, but it has to play in the current situation with this awkward game week. Yeah, he has to play. Lap of the God stuff. I rate Gapco. Some minutes, I think we will see the first of Isak, but I don't think he'll be a starter this coming weekend. Be interesting to see with the midweek matches what happens there. And that's the other thing to think about here as well with these midweek matches. Do I get a clean game week? Does everyone there start? And I think most of them should do. But that may change in the coming weeks, which is the other thing to keep an eye on. Semenyo, Newcastle home. Newcastle defence has been going very, very well, and again, it does give me that clash, doesn't it, with the Burn and the Semenyo. Nothing I can do there. And Semenyo's been great, and looks like he may be now on penalties. Let's see. We'll see. What's the lad that normally takes them? Got out of my head. Ivan Nielsen. But he doesn't seem to be starting at the moment. Monday morning, lack of coffee brain. But penalties, that is definitely a tick in his box, isn't it? Most transfer player in a game this week. And then is up front. Mateta, West Ham away. Ekitike, Everton home. Haaland, Arsenal away. Not fantastic fixtures for obviously for Haaland. Ekitike, you know, he's looked reasonably sharp, but as I say, they certainly didn't look like they were doing much to break Burnley down. Again, bit of a minutes risk now. Isak will, I believe, get some minutes. And Mateta, I need some Mateta this weekend. Do I think there are, amongst all of that, another 25, 30 points if I get the 25 points out of the defence? I honestly don't know. It looks horrible on paper. But sometimes it's those game weeks that look horrible on paper that come good for you. And I kind of have to hope that the big one, of course, is going to be a captaincy choice out of this lot. And I have not got a clue where I'm going to go at the moment. Let's go back to the spreadsheet. But that's kind of the lineup I think I'm going to run with. That will actually bump the for bench Rodri. It will actually bump the averages up a little bit when I bring in Senesi, who's on an average of 8.3, and put Rodri on the bench. Does bump the numbers up a wee bit. I mean, there is still a slight possibility I may just stick with Rodri, but I think I'm going to go the back five. I think I'm going to do it. Could be proven foolish, but it does bump the averages up a wee bit. But I still feel that this team, I think if I got 60 this week, I think I'd be really happy. But who would be the captaincy pick? So, general rules of spreadsheet is captain the player with the highest average, and that would be Semenyo. My bending of those rules is always captain Haaland, so I'm not points dodging, which I've been doing a lot in the first 3 game weeks. So I guess the question is there. I think the captaincy would have to go on Semenyo or Haaland. What do you think in the comments? I think I'm going to start to go with just the always captain Haaland. He looked like a beast, didn't he? He was really close to Defcon points. I think he clocked up about 8 or 9 defensive actions. He had an absolutely immense game. He was scary. And he could have had he played a beautiful little flick through to Rangers. I know 1 or 2 of you own both Haaland and Rangers and had your captain's armband. I think Alan, my God, because you've had a great week anyways, that would have been immense for you. That would have cracked you the ton or more. And I know you're already sitting in the top 10,000, I think. Ooh, heart in the mouth stuff, mate. But yeah, Haaland was just immense. He looks back to his best. Of course, what we've got to remember is Haaland looked immense up to about game week 4 or 5 last year, and then disappeared. He looks a different beast this year. He really, really does. There are a lot of people out there now at the moment twisting themselves into pretzels. I'm already seeing it. How do they have Salah and Haaland? And looking at taking hits or moving Salah out to get Haaland in. So I don't recommend a Haaland Salah draft, even though I think some of those will have maybe cracked the ton this week. A lot of people did that last year, namely me. They're going to have both Haaland and Salah. And I broke my spreadsheet and my averages, and the numbers fell off a cliff as it was just weakened in too many other areas of my spreadsheet. Even though the averages looked fantastic for those first 4 or 5 game weeks, but it weakened other areas, and the averages fell off a cliff, and Haaland stopped scoring, and there was like the little S-bend that I've recovered nice and early so far this year. That just went wee right down. Wasn't good. Did recover it, and ended up doing pretty well overall for the season, but not making that mistake again going there. And I had a little temptation to do it. When I was doing this wild card, I had a little temptation to go Haaland Salah, but I'm glad I didn't. The balance in the team is better than having really going cheap. It is easier to get, I think, to a Haaland Salah draft at the moment. If anyone is tempted, because there are those good sort of mid-price players, midfielders in that sort of, your Andersons, etc., in that sort of 5.5, 6 to make it possible. But with Palmer coming back and scoring, well, I want to get to Palmer. Well, I want to get to Saka. I will want Isak. Pretty sure I want Isak. I think ultimately I'm going to move into more of a 4-4-2. Have thought about a 5-4-1. Just have Haaland and put the money into the defence and the midfield. And that is why at the moment, and while we actually build up more data, why I am 90% certain I will not make a transfer this week. We know we've got the big fixture turn for Arsenal in game week 7, and I say by and large, if you look at that team as it stands, once I get past that game week 5 and we go out to 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, this lineup looks pretty good. And all I want to do now is just manipulate the spreadsheet as we go along and bringing in the right players at the right time that are showing they're hitting the averages with the right fixtures going forward, particularly as we get to, I would say game week 6 and 7. So roll a few transfers and bring the right players in. And those players may well be, double Arsenal and Isak as a move, Etikite and Gapco out. And yeah, maybe bring in an Arsenal defender or an Arsenal goalkeeper. Don't know yet. I just happy to have actually risen up the ranks, steadied the ship. This game week, there could be a bit of a drop again. Game week 5, it just looks an horrible game week. And I think it's going to be tricky for most people unless they are maybe doing a free hit. And yeah, I suspect there's going to be a few waking up and looking at their teams for this coming game week, and then it's going to go free hit time. We'll see, and there'll certainly be more wildcards played. Don't think it's a good wildcard week though, because of those clashes for players that you will want in 6, 7, and 8, and going forward. I think that's it, folks. Bit of a long waffle. Just to give you where my head's at, it really is now spreadsheet territory for me now, and just hoping to steer this ship along, and hopefully by game week 10, fingers crossed, have myself at least well entrenched in that top 1 million. Currently, as I say, took a nice big rank rise up to nearly 1.5 million after game week 4. So mighty relieved on that, I have to say. Game week 5, I suspect, could be a bit of a drop again, but just the nature of this game at the moment, it is so congested, and just one good decision, one good captaincy's return, as I saw yesterday, bang, it's like 2 million, full turnaround. And as I say, if Salah hadn't gotten that last minute penalty, that would have been well inside. I'd have been well inside the top 1 million. Yeah, it's been emotional, folks. It's been emotional. Take care, have fun, play your own game, don't panic. Don't forget to put, for another chance to win an FPL Don't Panic t-shirt, don't forget to put your guesstimate on what my 5 defenders will achieve this week, which looks more of a Defcon week. Bird, Lacroix, Van Dijk, Tarkowski, Sinisi. What points will they achieve? See you soon. Bye-bye.